I'm Jess. I'm a licensed athletic trainer in the state of Florida, and I'm also board certified. So that basically means that I am able to do everything that says up there. That shows what I am and what I encompass in my abilities to give to you guys. So I'm a healthcare provider, so on and so forth. All right, and so these are my clinic hours for the most part. It's going to be from 12 to 3:30, so about the same times that Robin was having hers. And on Thursdays, I'll be doing later so I can go to practices. And on Fridays, I'm going to try to go with the by appointment only method. And that's my office phone number and my email. So if you guys have any questions or just shoot me an email. All right, moving on. Yeah, so Sarah and I are going to go back and forth with like it's a lot more than this. So, first question is, what training session are you guys currently in right now?
Risk management.
Oh, beautiful. Think of one answer, 50 votes.
What's the price?
So the second question is, what other responsibilities are required to a risk manager?
Safety for the club members.
Safety. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, safety's a good one. Here, let me. Any others? Obviously safety. What's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Any others that come to the top of your head you could possibly think of? No. Awesome. So, being CPR and first aid certified, big one, that's our number one.
Ensuring everybody has a concussion test.
Yeah, that's one of the responsibilities. That's kind of taking into implementing a risk management plan. So make sure everyone's good to go before we start. So going on to our next question.
Can't sit on that.
What are some general ways that you guys think that you can prevent injuries? Stretching. Always a good one. That's most definitely an answer.
Yes.
Hydrating. Still.
I gave him an award.
Anybody else? Checking the weather, knowing the conditions. Environment conditions.
Just tell me what number there.
Okay, what are some other things that you guys can think of? Yeah.
Having proper functioning equipment.
Oh, great. That is a really good one. It's not on here. It's not on here. Yeah.
Separate.
For sure.
Know your limits.
Knowing your limits, that's number one. Don't overexert yourself. So if you know that you haven't eaten anything all day, don't think that you can go out and practice at 100% and not feel horrible.
Sorry.
The second one, I'm just going to tell you guys, you're probably not going to guess, is informing the AT of any pre-existing injuries or medical conditions. So that's a big one. If you've had surgery before, I should know about it in the waivers you should do, the physicals, so on. And then the last one is being an advocate for yourself and removing yourself from sustaining any further types of injuries. So, you just sprained your ankle, try to tough it out. Moving on. So, what are the 2 requirements to participate in a sport club?
Exciting yourself student.
There you go. Being a USF student and having the waivers. Now Terrence is going gonna talk to you guys a little bit about waivers.
So just like you guys already know, to participate in you guys' clubs, you have to be a USF student. Everyone is required to have filled out a waiver before participating in you guys' club. So I know they already explained how Bull Sync and how to sign up for a waiver earlier in the session. Make sure that when people are showing up to you guys' practices and you aren't sure who they are, that you're asking them, hey, have you filled out a waiver? Our supervisors, if you practice on campus, will be there to enforce that policy as well, because we'll be swiping you guys' IDs just like last year. But it would help us out if you guys are also doing that to every new person that you see as officers of the club. It also helps you guys be known as an officer and makes it easier for that new person to come in and know who to talk to if they have any questions about the club. When you guys have away travels or away teams come in for a home event, you guys are also going to have them fill out a waiver, so you could just give them a heads up about that. Another thing, type of form of waiver is our coaches and instructors form. So you can find that on Bull Sync under sports club officers, and then in the form section, if you guys want to have a volunteer coach, paid or unpaid, that's up to the club. They would just have to fill out this form and then go through, once the form is filled out, we'll get it and then we'll reach out to them and they'll have to go through a background check on our end with HR. And then the visiting teams forms is what I already said.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For the waiver for the home game, when another team comes in, is that something they will sign with a pen and paper, or is it something?
Yeah, so our supervisors will be there with a waiver form, and then they'll check everybody in before they can play. But if it's, say you have members who are under 18 come into play, like I know our fencing team, they have high schoolers in their tournaments, so they have to fill out a minor participant waiver form, so that needs to be signed by their parent or legal guardian. So then you guys have access to the form, so you can send it to them in advance. That way they can come with the form already signed instead of having to show up with the form and have their parents come with them.
Should we ask them to bring their driver license?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They need to have a valid form of ID.
That's good to know.
Yep.
I was going to ask for that. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? No.
Another question. The risk manager is responsible for making sure that all drivers have what 3 items?
The car.
Insurance.
License, insurance. Yeah, a car should be license. But that's 2 of them, the license and insurance, which is 1 and 2. And then we need one more. If you have a car, you're gonna have insurance.
Yes.
So you're gonna want to make sure that they have a good driving record. I wouldn't.
Wait, how do we know? Yeah, how do we?
Yeah, that's it. Well, asking, making sure that they have just being aware of who you get in the car with and who's driving. Like if you know that someone has had a couple of DUIs in their past, making sure that they probably don't. So yeah, so those are the 3 things. Now Terrence's gonna talk to you guys about insurance.
So for insurance, the university does not hold like a blanket insurance policy for you all, not for the individual students. So we don't ask, but it's best if you guys have your own insurance because we don't provide any. When going out and you're playing in specific leagues, sometimes the leagues provide insurance depending on the league, so ask them about it. That's like a good source. As officers, don't assume someone has insurance. So sometimes your guys' players may, you can tell they're injured and you're telling them to go to the hospital or something like that, and they may be not wanting to. Don't assume they have insurance. If you can encourage them to go to the hospital or go get checked out, but if not, that you guys are responsible for filling out injury reports, which is also in that form section, and then Jess will get that injury report and they'll follow up with that person, and they could have a personal reason, and that's how we could possibly discover on why they are trying to avoid going to see a health physician.
Any questions on that?
For vehicles, like Justice said, you guys are responsible for making sure that whoever's driving has a good driving record. No, you don't have to run like a serious background check on anybody, but you can tell if someone has good experience driving or not. Don't put anyone who in charge of your team and the safety of your team who isn't trustworthy of that responsibility. When it comes to renting of vehicles through USF, you guys can't rent through USF. And when you rent vehicles other places, we only offer reimbursement only. So for hotels, if you guys turn in the paperwork at a timely manner, you guys can get prepayment. We do not offer that same thing for renting vehicles. Also, the reimbursement will only cover the vehicle. So sometimes you guys' own personal insurance will also cover insurance for when you rent a vehicle. That's something you would have to reach out and ask your specific insurance. But if the place you're renting the vehicle from charges you for the car and the insurance, you will only get reimbursement for the car, not the insurance. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. Any questions about insurance or for personal or for vehicles?
What type of injury would cause the graduate assistant athletic trainer to refer to a physician?
Concussion.
Concussion, bingo, that's the first one.
Good job.
Yes, I was waiting for this.
I know. Broken bones and fractures, which are one, but that's number 2.
We're on the road.
Or like a big
Anything
cut.
else?
Like a big cut.
Not so much. It's completely different, but that's like one of the few things. So yeah, a torn ligament, bones, or you don't tear bones. A torn ligament, tendons, and labrum. So that's number 4.
What about a big cut?
Clean cut.
Yeah, like a big cut. No, like bleeding.
Well, this is referring out. So if someone's like profusely bleeding from an artery, someone should be calling 911, not waiting for me to tell you to go to the doctor.
Alright.
So,
If it's something like cardiac related or for your spine, maybe.
so this is for when I refer to a physician. So cardiac or like spine is immediate for the most part.
Well, memory loss.
Hold up.
What's that?
Memory loss.
That goes under concussion.
Heat stroke.
Heat stroke. There you go. That's number 5. And
A normal stroke.
dislocations and subluxations are going to be our number 3.
What is that?
So when someone dislocates a joint, or they sublux, which is then the joint, like the bone will dislocate but it will come back in. That's a sublux. Dislocation separates when the joint stays out there. And I'll just give you guys the next ones. A serious illness or an infection. So yeah, if you have a cut and then it's just not being properly cleaned or not healing right, we're gonna refer out. So that's number 6. And then the last one is injuries related to the nerves. So I guess you could say spine or nerve. But so those would be all things when I would refer you to doctors.
So, do we cover that doctor visit, or you just telling us to go to the doctor?
So, it's a good question. I haven't talked to Toki about. For the most part, so I provide free care to you guys. In terms of the physicians that I work under, from my understanding, it's also free. But that's a question that I will cover with Antonio, and Terrence might be able to hone in on that at all.
Can you repeat the question?
So, she's here for like something happens, you be there to manage it until she refers us to like a physician. So is this physician also under the school insurance where we don't have to pay out of pocket, or is it all the insurance that we use?
It would be your own insurance.
Okay.
So
To my knowledge, I'm
But we'll get back to that. I'm gonna
90%
ask.
sure.
We'll get back to you on that one.
Any other questions? All right, so this is the serious incident protocol. Just how something should happen in the list of procedures you should go about it when something does happen. So we're gonna go through this. So first things first, if you are an injured player, if you're traveling away and your team member gets injured, please do not let them go to the hospital by themselves. The last thing I would want to do is be stranded in a hospital, injured, and be alone. You're just adding more to it. So make sure that you or another officer accompanies that person. The next thing is, number 3 is whoever does go with that injured person, the other officers will take over and handle the event that you guys are at, because you still have to continue the event. And when this injury does happen and things calm down and you guys are at the hospital, please also let us know. So get in contact with us. So the first person you would contact is the sports club coordinator, which is Dan Renfro. The next person would be the assistant director, which is Antonio Gonzalez. Third person is the associate director, which is Chris Marks. And then finally the director, which is Jay. So you don't have to contact each person. Those are just the order of list you should go about. So if Dan doesn't answer, then you call Antonio. If Antonio doesn't answer, you call Chris. If Chris doesn't answer, then you call Jay. Once you say if Dan answers the first one, which he most likely will, he would let the rest of them know. Don't feel like you have to call 4 people. After that, make sure to continue to give us updates. Don't leave us in the dark. We want to know what's happening and be there if there's any way that we can support you all dealing with the situation that's happening. Whoever you guys contact, they will report it to the dean of students' office. They may have their own set of policies and how they handle injuries, so they may be reaching out to you all as well as a separate, besides what we already do. And then after everything settles down, as soon as possible, to make sure that you guys fill out either the injury report or the incident report, which can both be found under the form section in sports officers. Any questions about the procedure, which you guys should be handling an incident or injury?
I'm also gonna chime in here. Every single facility that you guys have is gonna have an EAP. So it's an emergency action plan. So at each facility, you're gonna go to the EAP and follow that first, if it's a serious injury. And every single one is different depending on where you are. And you're just gonna follow what it says. It's pretty simple, concise, and easy to do. And just know that there is one for everywhere you go. So the next question is reasons that would cause you to fill out an incident injury report.
fight.
Yes. Safety concerns. So we'll do 6.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay. Another one. This is an incident injury.
Someone gets injured.
Yep. Someone gets injured. That's number 1.
说得很像。
This is incident or injury, so it doesn't just have to be injuries.
Car accident.
Traffic accident. That's number 4. Good job. Anything
somebody gets struck by lightning.
that falls under being injured. So poor conduct or sportsmanship, which is going to be number 5. So that will be noted. If someone is ill or sick, also needs to be noted. And then the last one is lost or stolen or damaged property. So that's 2 and 3. So you fill out an incident report for the lost, damaged, or stolen property, and then injury report for whichever applies.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What since like when would we do like one for a traffic accident, like on the way to like a competition or something, or like does that be like the only case in which that would be applicable, or
If something's sports club related. Like,
Yeah, you get in an accident going to buy groceries, put it in this report.
but yeah, I was just saying like if somebody's like driving in practice or something like that, but that too.
Yeah, I mean, you can report that, but the main thing we're talking about is like when you guys are traveling away.
maybe if you're leaving practice, maybe you feel like when you're subcontracting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's for the poor conduct? Is there like a follow-up punishment or something going on in that?
Yes, Terrence can go into that a little bit more.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question?
So, poor conduct. Is there like a follow-up disciplinary action, or is it something more like you just want to be aware of anything that's going on?
Was it on the question?
Yeah, it was for poor conduct and sportsmanship. It's going to be filed as an incident report.
Yeah. So you're asking like what would we do
Yeah,
after we get
once
that?
you guys get that, what's the next process?
Yeah, it's a case by case. It depends on what the poor conduct is. If it's like dealing with alcohol, or if it's like an egregious thing, then there's other places at the university that we also have to report that to. If it's something minor, then maybe we can handle it in-house. But yeah, we most likely meet with the people who are involved and the officers, get all sides of the story, and then we would meet as an admin team to come up with how we're going to handle the situation.
Okay. And for the traffic accident, we had an occasion where 2 of our players were heading home and they did get in an accident. It was pretty bad. Unfortunately, we didn't file a report at the time. What would have been the next step after the report was filed? For that?
You were leaving what, practice?
No, they were heading home after practice and they got in.
Yeah, so they didn't fill out.
Yeah.
So-
It was the different officers at the time also.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah.
We just now finding out, but
Yeah.
we just like, well, we should have done that. But I'm sure they weren't aware of it, or maybe they just didn't want to go through trouble. But if that was filed, what would have been the next step from you guys? Is there something where like somebody would come in and help them through that process, like going to the hospital and all of that, or is it just like we just want to be aware to see if we can prevent it from happening?
We want to be aware of the situation to see if there's any way we can help. I can't really say, I don't think there's like an exact thing we can do for each thing because like I said, it's a case by case thing. But stuff like that is definitely important for us to know because maybe there's stuff that we can do to prevent it from happening in the future, or maybe we could have helped that person out at that time or anything like that.
Yeah, or like rehab if they hurt themselves, then I would be able to see that too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So this is how to fill out a sports club or injury and incident report. If you make a judgment about a person's behavior, make sure that you support that judgment with actual facts rather than just opinion. So try to avoid using like bias verbiage in the report and like accusations and stuff. So state what you know as a fact and be brief and concise, but also like very detailed about it. Lastly, you need to obtain. Well, you don't need to, but it's like highly recommended to obtain a case number when police or EMS is called. That way we can follow up with them and just have that on record. Any questions with this? Yeah, so fill it out as accurately as possible, be logical about it. If you guys happen to fill out like an injury report, do not diagnose the injury. So the only person that is allowed to diagnose anything is a doctor and me right now. So if you guys think that someone has a fracture, you don't know that, but you can write down I see bone from the skin. And that will be just fine. So you're gonna really rely on your 5 five senses when you're like writing reports, like what you see, what you feel, touch, hear, and smell, and hopefully not taste it, but and what you taste. So another question. What are 3 ways to prevent heat illnesses from occurring?
Say heat.
Hydration. It's a great one. Heat illnesses. Yep. Hydration is number 2.
Emergency. No, I'd say emergency.
Find shade.
Take breaks.
To prevent.
Or take
All the times of the day.
Yeah, practicing in pool times.
Get off the
That kind of falls into one of them.
Get acclimated.
sounds good.
Get acclimated to the heat. That's number 1. So making sure that when you guys start practicing and stuff, you have a proper acclimatization period in terms of getting your team back on the field. Because if you go 100% on the first day and it's 4 o'clock, you're going to be feeling it, and you have a higher chance of getting a heat illness rather than gradually getting 50%, 75%, so on and so forth. And then the last one, does anybody have any guesses?
Don't do anything unnecessary, like, you know, if you don't have to be in the sun.
That's right on. So proper rest and not overexerting yourself. So don't be trying hard on the first day if you haven't worked out all summer. That'd be great. Okay, moving on. So what are some signs and symptoms of
Person is all red.
It can be, not necessarily.
Dizziness.
You could feel.
Dizziness, that's number 1. What's another one?
You could feel.
Pale or white. Pale or white.
Pale or white? Not so much. What did you guys say?
You could feel.
You could faint?
Yeah.
Yes, that is one.
What?
Very good.
Good job, guys.
If they're feeling warm after when you're not in the sun.
Sort of. It depends on the person.
Okay.
Weakness and fatigue. So yeah, weakness and fatigue go right in hand in hand.
What noise? Noise.
Yep, nausea. That's number 2.
What's the? Somebody put me on the.
Yes, but no. Yeah, you want to just patch someone back in. Okay, so I'm gonna chime in here. Muscle cramps is gonna be number 4. And then last one goes a little bit with nausea, vomiting.
That's what you can do.
Oh yeah.
You could be sick and not.
So we're gonna talk about 4 heat-related illnesses. These first 2 are gonna be not minor because all of them are major, but they're the lesser of the 2. So we're gonna talk about heat syncope, which is also fainting, and the signs and symptoms of that are gonna be fainting. No, but it's also going to be dizziness and nausea, and to be able to prevent that, being properly acclimatized to the heat, make sure you're hydrated, and also if it does happen, what you guys are gonna do is remove the person from the sun and the heat, lay them down in a nice shaded place, and elevate their feet over their arm. That makes sense? Any questions on heat syncope? Okay, the next one we're gonna talk about are muscle cramps, and the signs and symptoms are you're gonna start feeling a twitching, and I don't know if anybody here has ever felt a cramp before, but it sucks, and your muscle spasms, and it just sucks until it goes away. That's all it really is. So why cramping happens is it can happen because of the heat, you're not properly acclimatized, improper hydration, and the electrolyte fluid balance could be just a little off. So making sure that you are all of those things out there for preventing, making sure you have a good diet, eating good sodium. Sometimes if you go to Publix, you can get the little mustard packs. You can do those. Just start feeling cramp on, you know you're gonna cramp, just pop a mustard pack in your mouth. So what to do when you start getting cramps is replace the fluids, try to rub out the cramp and stretch as much as possible. Because as soon as you get that cramp out and done with, the better you're gonna feel. Moving. So these next 2 are the big ones of heat-related illnesses, and the first one is heat exhaustion. And so basically the signs symptoms of both of these are going to be very similar. The one thing that separates heat exhaustion versus exertional heat stroke is CNS dysfunction and a rectal temperature of 105 degrees or up. You guys, I'm never going to ask you to take a rectal temperature. You don't need to know really what it is. I'm the only person that will be worried about that. So if I'm not there though, you guys have no way to determine if someone's in heat stroke or if they are going through heat exhaustion. So we're going to do the more conservative route. And if they present with any of these signs or symptoms, a dry mouth, dizziness, irrational behavior, they're acting drunk-like, they have no way of cooling down their body at this point because they're so exhausted and the heat has caused their body to create like an inability to be able to cool itself properly, so it's starting to damage itself from the inside out. So what I want you guys to do is make sure that you remove the person, if I'm not there, remove the person from the heat, get them in a cold water immersion, so a tub, a tarp, anything, get them ice and get them water. And then I want you to call 911. You need to cool before you transport. That's the biggest thing. Getting them in water and cooled down is going to be the best treatment for them at that point and the most life-saving thing you can do. So if I am there, I'm going to be like relying on you guys. So I will be potentially taking a rectal temperature, and in that case, I would ask you guys to keep people away from the area to give this person as much privacy as possible. And just know that if I ask you to call 911, you follow the EAP and you go as follows. Does anyone have any questions with this?
I know.
Yes.
What is CNS dysfunction?
CNS dysfunction is a central nervous system dysfunction. So in terms of they're not being able to walk right, they're acting drunk, irrational, just not themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, gonna move on. So now I'm gonna ask you guys, what are some signs and symptoms of a concussion?
Dizziness.
Dizziness, confusion, that's 2 and 3.
Head hurts.
Memory loss,
Sensitivity to light.
that's the last one. Memory loss. Someone say nausea? Yes. That's number 6.
Head hurts or bump on head.
Headache, yeah,
Sensitivity to
that's
light.
number 1.
Oh.
Irritability, yep. We're gonna go with that one, that's number 7. And personality changes, so irritability, sensitivity to light, to noise. Anything else? Yeah. Depending on the severity of it, that is one. Oh, we're not, that's not one of them on here. Anybody?
Oh.
So, number 5 is gonna be blurred vision or double vision. And 4 would be ringing in the ears.
That's what I'm good
Oh, yeah, sure.
Where was that medication?
Right, so there are tons of signs and symptoms for a concussion. Irritability to light, all of those things that we just mentioned, and then a lot more. Fatigue, easily distracted, drowsiness, so on and so forth. So a concussion is a mild traumatic brain injury, and you only have one brain, so we take concussions very seriously. There is no such thing as a grade 1 concussion, a grade 2, a grade 3. That is in the past. A concussion is a concussion, and it's a concussion. So the way that I look at it, and the way that most healthcare professionals will look at it, is if you suspect that someone has a concussion, if they tell you that they're feeling any of these things, it is not a joke. Don't overlook it and watch them, because I want them out, and we need to take conservative measures to get them out of play to prevent them from further injuring themselves. Is there any questions with that? If you think that someone could possibly have one, make sure that they follow up with me, because even to return to play, they need to get cleared by me, and they also need to get cleared by a physician. Cool? So this is our return to play protocol, and like I said, they need to get cleared by me and a physician, and this is just how our protocol kind of works. So we start with no activity until all signs and symptoms are gone, and we gradually go back and forth. So if all your signs and symptoms are gone and someone's like, oh, I can go play tomorrow since I'm done, that's not how it goes. We have to get you back and go through the acclimatization period, just as anything else in any other injury. So, if I'm not there, like I just said, if anyone tells you any of these things, you try to be an advocate for them because now they've had a brain injury, and you just say, hey, I think it would be a great idea for you to take just a rest for the rest of the day, and so on and so forth. Just monitor their symptoms. If their status changes even the slightest bit, you see that their balance is off, they're asking more questions, seeming more fatigued, make sure that they're not playing anymore. If a player has a concussion and it is practice and they go home and they're the only person going home, do not let them go home by themselves. Make sure that someone gets them home safe and that someone monitors them kind of throughout the night and just kind of knows where they are. A roommate would be a great person to rely on. And make sure that they follow up with an injury report. You guys can kind of read the rest of this. So, yep. Any questions with that?
Everyone, please make sure that you are being, as officers and risk managers, that you are being responsible for your players. That means don't just trust them to take themselves out of the game if there is an issue. You are the ones that are going to be responsible for that. So if someone goes down with a head injury, does everybody so did anybody see the football game last night? Like UF? If you didn't, okay. So one of the things that happened, the player came down hard on their head. The player got up fine. Whatever, I'm assuming it was the athletic trainer from the side, pull the player from the field. That is what your job is. If you see someone go down and it looks like they hit their head, get them off the field. Check for these kind of symptoms and things. Obviously, you're not there to diagnose, but if you can go in there and you can take an exam. You can see if they're dizzy. You can ask them immediately, hey, how's your head feel? Do you remember what just happened? Ask them what day it is. Go through the same kind of pieces here, because you're responsible for that. Does that make sense? Like, you all as risk managers have taken on this responsibility, especially if you're getting CPR first aid certified. Like, you are the responsible person for the club. So your job is to watch out for them. Don't trust athletes, right? Our athletes, if you're in a competition, odds of you taking yourself out of the game, not very high, okay? So your job is to be there to make sure that we're following these protocols. Cool?
If you guys have questions to ask players if they go down, just shoot me an email. I'll send them to you. So the next thing we're gonna watch, who knows what second impact syndrome is? Operator, you do. So a second impact syndrome is caused when a brain sustains another concussion before the first concussion has time to heal properly. And what causes that, obviously, is another concussion, but it causes the brain to swell uncontrollably and could be very life-threatening. And so what I am going to do is I've attached a video, and we're gonna watch the first couple minutes of it. This guy who is a culprit of second impact syndrome is the face of what it looks like to this day.
Life was good for Preston Fledrides as a senior at Marlboro High School in New Jersey. He was charismatic, handsome, captain and MVP of the football team.
Everyone looked up to him kind of. I mean, that's kind of how he was around our school. Like, everyone knew him, everyone was trying to say hi to him.
He just was happy all the time. Always happy. He just had that aura.
What were his dreams in football?
He was going to get himself good enough and strong enough and fast enough to play somewhere. If it wasn't at the NFL, it would be in Europe.
In college, those dreams would come to an end.
And they'll take Craig back to midfield, and Craig's now returning it over the 40. And there's an injured player down. But I did not like the look of how I saw him lying there on that field.
October 4th, 2005, LaSalle University in Philadelphia. Plevrides is a 6'2", 230-pound freshman linebacker. At practice, he gets injured in a helmet-to-helmet collision.
I remember him coming home that night, a little bit concussed. You're kind of weary. You don't really know what's going on.
In a game 4 days later, Plevrides tells the LaSalle trainer his head hurts. The trainer sends him to the student health clinic where he is diagnosed with a concussion. But 2 days later, a nurse tells Plevrides he can return to play after sitting out one game. Was he symptom-free at that time?
No, he was never symptom-free. Not at all.
Why did you say that?
He always complained about headaches.
And how did he deal with it?
I had little handfuls at the time.
Plevrides plays in 2 games without incident. Then, on November 5th, 2005, with 2:42 left in a game against Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, he tries to make a tackle on a punt return.
He went down like a ton of bricks, and we hit the ground, and he was out.
Doctors, trainers, and coaches rushed onto the field where Plevrides lay, convulsing.
He was just shaking. And then he kind of rolled over onto his back, and he just went completely limp.
I was worried then. Can't describe the look in his eyes. I think this is going to end the game right here, and I think that's a good decision. It's hard to go play football after you see something like that.
The head coach and team trainer run to Mercy Hospital just a few blocks away. Assistant coach Phil Petit is in the ambulance.
He started to foam a bit at the mouth. At that point, he was starting to fade.
For 2.5 hours, surgeons work furiously to save Plevrides' life. A massive blood clot is putting pressure on his brain. To relieve the pressure, the right side of his skull is removed.
This part was all pushed in because they had taken his skull off, so the brain was exposed. He was on life support.
He was laying there, tubes out of his head. He had tubes going down both nostrils. My beautiful boy was laying there.
Today, 24-year-old Preston Plevrides is the face of concussion and consequence. He struggles to eat, walk, and talk 4.5 years after his injury. Do you remember the hit that you took on the field? What do you remember?
Right. So we're only gonna watch a little bit of that, but I know for some people who've never seen second impact syndrome, that can be a little tough. So if you do need to talk or would like to talk more about that, come see me after. To continue on with the rest of the PowerPoint for risk management, we're gonna go and ask again another question. So what are unsafe places to hide? Okay, there we go, I didn't know the question. So what are examples of unsafe places to seek shelter from lightning? Yeah, you do. Under a tree, pools, bodies of water. So under a tree is number 1, and the swimming pool and bodies of water is number 5. Anybody think of anything else?
Don't lay flat on the ground.
What is that?
Don't lay flat on the ground.
That actually would probably be the better thing to do if there are no shelters, it's get low. But you want to find a shelter and an enclosed shelter. So there are 3 more things.
Near conductive surfaces.
Yes. So yes. That was a really good answer. But just again, not here. So I'm gonna give you guys these because they're pretty specific. Tents, dugouts, and press boxes.
Press boxes.
But it's not fully enclosed.
Wait, what?
Press boxes are a place where you unsafe shelter. only because we're gonna go on to the next thing because it has press boxes are either known for being open windows, so where they don't have any windows on them, or even if they have windows, you do not want to be close to a window because lightning tends to jump. And we're also in Tampa, and Tampa is the lightning capital of America right now. So, lightning's a big thing. So, for safe shelters, it needs to have at least 4 walls, a solid roof, plumbing, and electrical wiring. Vehicles, making sure that they're fully enclosed and have a hard top so no convertibles, motorcycles do not work. Just want to make sure everybody knows that. We're gonna keep moving on. So, in terms of lightning and bad weather, we operate under the spectrum of a 10-mile radius rule. So, I'm gonna ask that you guys. It didn't change. I'm gonna ask that you guys download the app called WeatherStem because now we're transitioning from WeatherStem or from WeatherBug to WeatherStem. And this is an app that will tell you exactly, giving you a good like radar of where the closest lightning strike was. And we're transitioning because we actually have a unit that is on the campus now, so that's the most accurate way to know. So we're operating in a 10-mile radius, and if there is lightning, all activities will be postponed until all the lightning is out of that 10-mile radius. So that's a 30-minute clock that starts when the first strike goes and it's seen. And within the 30 minutes, if another strike happens, the clock starts over. That makes sense. Yeah.
Question about the app. So I have WeatherBug from last year. Now WeatherStem you mentioned is like here.
Yes.
Is that everywhere else too? Should I like hold on to the WeatherBug app for?
So WeatherStem is honestly it's better to have a lot of lightning things than not because I have both of them and then looking to get more stuff. I would just download both.
So
you can refer to both.
So for clarification though, so WeatherStem is just if you're on campus and you're practicing and stuff like that, or you're doing an event that maybe one of our staff is at. WeatherBug is going to be better if you're actually going to be portable. So if you've got an event that's off campus, you can do that because WeatherBug will automatically adjust to your location. WeatherStem is great for any event that's on campus because there's a sensor that is directly from here. It also pulls from the National Weather Service for lightning. So.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions?